headline. All right, we can just kind of do this live because I mean, we could make it kind of crazy and like into like honestly, a lot of at the moment most people are working on Final Fantasy 14 stuff, so I don't really want to jump into anything specific. So we're just going to talk about the headline itself, what's coming, and what to be excited for. Because man, this headline is so incredibly good, like so good. Let's pop over to the first slide that we saw. I believe here we go. So here's the slide, the first set of slides we saw. So they showed off the first region for RedEM, and it looks amazing. The zone itself looks super awesome. The enemies look super dope. We're getting, it looks like 5-star weapons, which is what I expected for the most part, is getting 5-star weapons. It looks like we're getting new materials as well, which that again, really, really cool. Expected something along those lines, so that's really nice as well. So yeah, new tames, new gathering items, all that good stuff. We can go ahead and move forward. We can see the new enemies, new exploration zones. This one actually particular right here is reminds me of a Phantasy Star Universe enemy, this guy and this guy here, these two. And some of the new zone hazards are interesting as well. Look at these tornadoes. I'm not sure if that comes from the enemy or from the zone itself. I imagine the zone because it shows they show up as like sand tornadoes. So all in all, pretty cool, pretty cool. Let me see really quick. So they also talk about the changes for the PSE, which is really nice as well. Basically, PSEs will be easier to get in combat zones. So I know PSEs have been dropping off pretty hardcore. Even myself, whenever I am like grinding and stuff like that, trying to get a PSE burst has been pretty terrible. It looks like they're changing up the specifications for PSE bursts, and they're going to be also adjusting thunderstorms. Personally, I would have liked to see that they mentioned something about making. We literally have an NPC that talks about weather in Central City right now. Just make it so that guy can predict the weather, like predict the next few storms. Even if like I mean, I guess RNG wise, right? Like the storms are RNG, whatever. Like schedule the storms, just don't tell us about them or something like that, right? Like just do that, and then have the NPC tell us about the scheduled storms coming up. That would be super dope in my opinion. But anyway, they're going to be rebalancing the timing of thunderstorms, so we don't get more of them, but they make more sense. It's not like 3 thunderstorms back to back and then a long period of time without thunderstorms. Basically, they're going to be balanced out a bit more. So super cool there. They mention the new stuff that's going to be added. So of course we have the level 35 cap, we have the new class skills, we have the new techs, we have the new weapons, and then of course new augments. They did not mention new photon arts, but we will get to that in a little bit. Going from there, we also have the main story that's being added, of course. But along with the main story, of course, we have the new mission pass to be added as well. But we do have new task types. We have it looks like daily tasks that'll be useful, or weekly tasks, I'm sorry, that'll be useful for helping you level characters, as well as high tier weekly tasks as well that are supposedly supposed to get harder and harder. So that's supposed to be really cool. I'm not sure what they mean by harder. If they mean like more annoying than harder, we'll have to see how that works out. But super cool stuff there. Of course, there's the main story. It's very obvious. Complete the first chapter to be able to do the second chapter to go into RedEM. Like that one's pretty straightforward. Let's see, what else do we have here? They mentioned that yeah, the changes are gonna happen to premium. This one's very strange with me, to me personally, mainly because players talk about not wanting a game to be pay to win or anything along those lines, but they also complain that premium isn't good enough, which is kind of crazy to me. I can understand that premium not being good enough to an extent, but I think they need to be very, very careful in balancing this. And I think they so far have been very careful in it. So far, what they're adding now is the end mission pass gold will be added, which definitely should have been a part of premium from the very get go. But I'm glad they're adding it now. The first one was free anyway, and the second one was the only one that you ended up paying for. So, I mean, worst case scenario, we lost 100 SG. That's not the end of the world, in my opinion. But people have their own opinions in the matter. The second one really doesn't make much sense to me unless they're going to be adding tons and tons of side tasks, because I've never once had enough side tasks that I couldn't pick up everything. So if they're adding more side tasks in general to be able to do, sure. But this has never really been an issue for me. So that one's, maybe this is foreshadowing something to come. We'll have to see. Let's see here. They show off the new characters, new waifu, very much so. Yes, yes. And these casts. It's kind of sad. These casts are a lot of cast parts that already exist, but just repainted. Like they have different color or they have different coloration or different patterns on them, which is cool from one perspective, but at the same time also kind of meh. I'm sure we'll see these characters' outfits. This is an interesting change that they're making. So new cocoons, towers, and Battle Dia coming soon. They mentioned new cocoons, towers, and Battle Dia, but they have them specifically named Neutrania, which it seems that the Neutrania are the ones that give you your actual your skill points. And then of course we have the Battle Dia, the yellow RedEM troopers and purple RedEM devastators, which will have their own what's the word I'm looking for here? Their own triggers. So those will drop. They'll have their own. So don't worry too much about holding on to the ones we have currently. You can use them or you can save them for the level 20 to 21 push, which I'm gonna talk about in a video later on. New urgent quests, super cool here as well. Now they mentioned this with the story. I kind of skipped over it. They mentioned part of the story, an important theme to the story itself is going to be music or a song. And then they purposely mentioned that this new boss enemy in the urgent quest, will attack you with enormous instruments. Um, However, they choose the word instruments over weapons. Now, this is tinfoil hat theory, but someone mentioned, maybe concerts coming back. That'd be super cool. I'd like to see that come up again because that's something that a lot of players have wanted. Moving forward, we have the title systems on its way. So this is some really cool features they're adding in. Granted, some of these should have already been in. Other ones they've been working on or trying to decide whether they're not going to be added in. I'm really happy to see a lot of these things pop up. The title system, super cool. Mag sonar feature, you can see it's going to add materials, meal, vegetables, fruits, seaweed, so all the different things you can gather, making it much easier to gather those items. And then of course item containers, green, gold, and red item containers, as well as other gathering items, which I think it was Bema who speculated this. But this might be referring to things like the reactors. So those are the ones that you sell from Aseta. So that's pretty cool. Also, we have the ability to transfer preset item or preset skills. Now, this is just going to be the preset skills of the same weapons, it looks like, because this is the same weapon names. And they show specifically 2 Straga swords. So you probably need to get a Straga. Basically, it's allowing you to set up a weapon, upgrade and augment it if you happen to get a drop or you happen to find something on the market that's for sale that has your fix that you want on it. You can buy it and then move it over. So this actually makes fixes, funny enough, worth more instead of worth less, because it's not going to be worth money to people who even already have their weapon set up to slap on a fixa. Plus, you'll be incentivized to try to grind to maybe get a better fixa to slap onto your weapon, and it's not going to hurt you setting up those weapons ahead of time. So that's kind of cool. Also, you can kind of barely see it here. It's really small, but it's going to cost a lot. 120 of the new material plus. It looks like photon scales are going to be the new thing. 15 of those. So, yikes. We also have new faces, which is cool. The lookbook is being added into NGS, which is really dope. So lookbook is going to function the same way it did back in base PSO2 and added in. Funny enough, I was watching a good colleague of mine, GM, talking about this, how this should be in NGS. And funny enough, here it is. And also it shows off the character that he played in the beta. So the gunner chick, super dope. Anyway, a tongue adjust tongues horizontally and vertically, because that's what we needed. More types of Ahego faces. And then, of course, motion changes cannot be registered in lookbooks, or will be reliably registered in lookbooks, as we assumed would be the case. We've got new AC scratch. From a male body type perspective, kind of but we're kind of used to this at this point. And then the long leap dash for the scratch ticket bonus. It's kind of funny. The landing's pretty dope, and they have actually just a run that's long leaps as well. So that kind of goes with a dash. Okay, let's skip on ahead real quick. Now, this is the part 2 to the update, and this part 2 comes out a week after RedEM update comes out, which is kind of crazy to me. So let's talk about this. We have the Central City decked out in Christmas, so Christmas stuff for Central City. One thing I noticed about this, they did not show any elemental weapons. I'm not sure if they're going to be bringing back all elemental weapons, or they're not going to be doing the elemental weapon thing anymore. Have to see how that works out. But they didn't show any elemental weapons. They just showed off this. We've got the new AC Scratch Frozen World, which the male outfit here is actually pretty dope. And then, of course, the other outfits Yeah, I already know what you guys are looking at, and I'd say I'm disappointed at you, but I looked at it as well. Um, Joe, the idle animation. There's an idle animation for like thinking, and there's one for irritated. And I'm actually pretty excited about the thinking one. And then of course the the motion dash sledding. You can now sled up hills, which would be hilarious to see. Then of course they also added in now this one a slight pause for concern. Um, there's an AC support scratch being added in. Like the support scratch is already being added in this early on, which includes some pretty interesting capsules we can see here. I'm not sure if they mentioned what capsules these are going to be. I don't see them listed here anywhere, but you can see there's a melee, a range, and a tech capsule. So cool stuff there. Which I mean, again, this is a cause for concern slightly, but realistically, it's not the end of the world. You guys are gonna see in a minute when we get to the portion that talks about the roadmap that this really doesn't matter nearly as much as you might think. There's gonna be a new world event or a new world trial or world trials basically. That's gonna place a sonar where you have to find these like items out in the world. Different rewards provide different grace, or they say different stellar or different color stellar graces. Basically, it's just little pillars you find out in the world, and you get different rewards from them. The entire server is going to add up towards like a total for everything that's found, but how much you actually gather on your own also increases as well. So red drop rate increases depending on how much you collect. Yeah, so your red drop rate increases depending on how much you collect individually and how much all players on your ship collect. So it has kind of like a twofold: how much everyone collects and how much you collect. So you can't just have everyone kind of carry you through it. And that's it for the content portion of this. We also have the operation report, which has some pretty interesting questions. This one in particular was the very first one, I think. Yeah. Please add more Type 1 costumes and cast parts. I agree. I 100% agree. 100%. And the answer they provided, by the way, hurts. Long story short, we out ratioed. Basically, it's they add in the scratch bot. They add in the outfit types, and they prioritize the outfit types based on the player bases or the player base. And the player base primarily is not cast or Type 1 costumes. So while I'm mad, I understand. So provide a place with fixed light sources and for taking screenshots. I glossed over it earlier. I completely actually forgot about it. They're adding locked rooms. So yeah, I remember that video that we made talking about how locked rooms actually could be a benefit. The pluses and the negative side of it, and how it's something that could be really, really useful and really, really nice. They're adding locked rooms, and in these locked rooms, you'll be able to actually adjust for no enemies, as well as fixed light sources and fixed weather. So screenshots intensify. Make more updated versions of PS2 outfits. Long story short, they are. They're working on the most popular ones first, and they're going to be making more later. So that pretty straightforward. And please improve Braver's katana. So they flat out have already mentioned that Braver is getting a new skill with the level 35 update that will greatly increase the way the katana works. They're balancing Braver katana, and they will be thinking about working on a way to, or they will be working on implementing more mobility in the future, seeing as Braver's getting a bit of a buff apparently in this next update. They're going to look at how that is going to be balanced overall before messing around with its mobility. So it's being worked on more or less. So katana mains, I mentioned this actually. We had an entire group of people watching all of this stuff, and I mentioned this to Karo, where he was like, "Yo, katana, needs not katana, but bravers need some work. They're not very strong." It's cool that they're addressing these things early on because, man, for those of you guys who played base PSO2 alongside of myself back on JP, think about how long fighters asked to be addressed and to be looked at and to be talked about. Because man, oh man, did it take a long time for anyone to even look at fighter. Please implement personal quarters at NGS. Now, while I really want this, the long story short they've mentioned is that they have more pressing matters of content in a general sense. Basically, they want to push out more content that's meaningful to combat, things of that sort first, but they'll be looking into doing that in later like updates, but not anytime soon. Music disc be added from the jukebox. They're looking into a point that they're going to be adding in the mag to be able to play music for the player itself, meaning that you will have basically like a mag P3, more or less. Um, So you'll be able to listen to your music while you're out in the field, which is super duper dope. They mentioned, of course, using the old music discs as well. I'm not sure if they mentioned that in a way of like it's something they'll be adding in or if it'll be available from base, but we'll have to see. And that's it. That's all they had for the operation report. Super dope. Now I'm moving on to probably one of the most impactful moments of the entire headline. We got the roadmap. Now, the roadmap looks insane. Those of you guys who are astute probably realize that in February is level 40, in April is 45, and in June, the 6 month mark is 60. We are already going to be level 60 for the 6 month mark. Absolutely insane. They usually do 6 month, like, sets. This is our current 6 months. Absolutely crazy. Those astute of you also realize there are no new classes on this list. Now, before everyone gets up, and I mean, I'm sure people already get their pitchforks. The ride has begun. I can already see in chat, no luster. The way that they're doing this shows the renewed effort in trying to push content first. Now, while I want new classes 100%, the most important thing right now for PSO2 has been its lack of a gameplay loop that's meaningful, its lack of content. New classes don't matter if there's nothing to do with them. So it looks like their focus is here. Now, Hiro also did mention specifically that everything on this list is not everything that we're getting. So there is more to add to this. This is just what is set in stone so far. So don't see that as like not getting the classes ever. Maybe they're still in the works for this sort of stuff. They just don't know when they're going to be released. But this shows a very drastic shift of focus to what really needs to happen for PSO2 to be a successful game. So I'm really excited. Though I would be remiss to say that part of that is also the fact that I have the class I want to play. I have Bouncer. So heart goes out to my summoner mains out there. My luster mains out there that really want those new classes, that want to play them. I know how that feels. I would be really upset if it wasn't there either, and it was my class. But this is definitely something that the game needs. Absolutely, most people aren't even playing the game right now, so definitely a focus that needs to happen. But we talk about the roadmap itself. So we've got the New Year's decorations and revival scratches, and the winter event ends, or winter event world trials. In February, we're getting the level cap increase, Chapter 2 side story, the mag thing we talked about earlier. They're adding in high rank sectors for Alio, and as well as the ARC's ID thing that they talked about. Spring event, we're adding in the spring event urgent quests, which they mentioned they're a specific event urgent quest they're going to be adding in, as well as triggers for those event urgent quests and proper triggers for other urgent quests as well. Not like the trigger quest that we have for the battle dia, but proper urgent quest triggers. So cool stuff there. In April, they're adding super challenging quests, level 45, along with a new urgent quest, the room setting we talked about for photos, as well as high rank sectors for the RedEM region. I don't know what they mean by super challenging quests, but I'm excited. So we'll have to see how that works out. In May, we'll be getting our new photon arts. So those of you guys who had the mind of, oh, we're getting new photon arts with the update, no, they said new skills, not new photon arts, and new texts, which is what I mentioned beforehand. New photon arts will be coming in May. Cool. Looks like they're looking at balancing it. They mentioned something about Braver with adding things like mobility or new photon arts for that sort of situation later on down the line. This kind of coincides with that, so that makes sense. And then, of course, you have the next major NGS update with the new region, Chapter 3 of the story, as well as level cap increase to 60 and new class skills. That goal is for June. Kind of lays out everything in front. Oh, I just hit my mic really hard. Sorry about that, guys. It lays out everything in front of us so we know what to expect. Then, of course, we have satellite information. We're going to skim over this because it's not really that crazy. But basically, it's just the web panel stuff, showing off when that's going to be available, offering boosts during that time frame. And also, they're going to have a weekend of pre-announced urgent quests between the 10th and the 12th, which is, of course, this weekend before the new update comes out. Probably not going to get on board for that, but super cool that that's going to... We mentioned this. This is going to go in my thoughts at the very end of this, but that's pretty cool. They also have another video. So they will be adding in a new outfit pack, basically, or a new pack that they're selling on the market. It's reduced in cost. It's $20 as opposed to the $45 it was previously, and it includes, meaning I'm gonna have to purchase this, a decent outfit for males, which that's fine, but a movement type, a dash that is literally a hoverboard. So I'm definitely buying that. They are absolutely going to be using. I'm absolutely gonna be using this. See how things go from there. Also gonna be releasing a new beginner pack, or a new beginner pack, which is substantially cheaper. It's about $10 as opposed to the other Rappy one, which I think was 30 to 40, if I remember correctly, something along those lines. And this will be replacing it. So this will be replacing that December 15th. So it's going to discontinue the old one, by the way, as well. And then the release campaign with scratches, all kinds of stuff will be going on when RedEM releases. They talk about, so yeah, the RedEM campaign, the NGS video contest, the screenshot submission contest, the RedEM release celebration login bonus, the store completion campaign, and the Join Alliance campaign. So all these different rewards are going to be handing out for that. And that covers the entirety of the NGS headline. Super cool. I'm actually pretty excited about everything I've seen so far. So let's go off with our thoughts. So, thoughts so far. They are making kind of a renewed effort to restructure the way the game is working out. Just from looking at the roadmap alone, we can see how much they've put effort into taking what the players have seen as feedback, and they have been implementing it. We've got reduced costs and things that players are paying for. People were really, really quick to jump on Sega's back about why does everyone care about the or why are they doing a what's the word I'm looking for, a survey talking about how you're spending your money, so on and so forth. You guys just want to spend more money, so on, all those different things. Reality, they're looking for a way to make things more balanced of like what makes more sense. Yes, they want to make money, but they also want to not disillusion their players as well. You have to have a balance between the two of them. Super cool to make money, or super cool to have these great things, but also at the end of the day, it's still a company. They have to make money. You got to keep the lights on. So I appreciate that. That's definitely a thing I'm actually really, really excited for. Also, the restructure or the reshift of things towards content. One thing they mentioned that they're going to be working on between the January to June timeframe is more content in between, and this definitely looks like it. Absolutely looks like it. They even mentioned during this, Hiro mentions that everything that's on this list is not everything. This is just what we know that's set in stone. So this list is going to change. It's going to be malleable. It will not change, but they're going to add things to this, basically. Hopefully we don't lose anything from this list. We've known in the past that sometimes they've had to delay things in the roadmap, but everything has come out that's in the roadmap. So this is super dope. I'm actually very excited to see where the future of NGS takes us. And honestly, this is the most important time. The time between January to June is the most important because they recognize that there was an issue with the game itself, and they have made a renewed pledge to changing things and making it better. So we have to see what they decide is going to be that change, what's going to make it better. And just from looking at what they have in store here, it's looking pretty damn good. So I'm very excited to see where NGS goes. That's really all my thoughts I have on the headline. Next headline is going to be on the 28th. So we'll be able to see what's going to be coming for January and those updates themselves. But that's all I really have for you guys. Chat, feel free to say bye to YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and cut the video here. If you guys are over on YouTube, like the video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you want to keep up with more. We stream a ton. We have been streaming a ton of Final Fantasy recently because Endwalker just came out, but we'll be back on PSO2 again with the RedEM update. So stick around if you guys want to keep up with that sort of stuff, and I'll see you later. Take care. Peace out.